Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast, and today we are back on home turf. We are back with Supermassive Games, but we are asking ourselves, which of the playable characters in all of the Supermassive games are the most forgettable? So without further ado, I'll throw it straight over to you, lad, to kick off with Until Dawn.
So for Until Dawn, we have gone with Matt. Now, bearing in mind with our list, we are only going for playable characters, so I had to pick one of the main 8. Technically, I could have gone Beth, but that's just prologue. It kind of would have been unfair. I wanted to go more risky with this one, so we did go for Matt. So he's only playable 5 times in the game, and he's only seen in 6 chapters out of the 10, which is the least equal with Jess. Speaking in comparison with Jess as well, he is in probably the more underwhelming ending at the 2, since he's not in the big lodge showdown. He, drops in the mines with Jess. The reason I've not selected Jess is because she's just a bit more memorable. She's a bit more quirky. Megan Martin does a really good job at bringing out kind of that bratty personality of Jess, and I thought she smashed it. With Matt, I look at his personality, and it's just nice jock who gets walked over a little bit. He can get a bit of redemption, but the thing that doesn't help Matt's case either is that he is quite a dispensable character. You can lose him quite early. Jess, you can as well, but she gets that comeback arc, which really stuck with me. With Matt, there's so many opportunities to lose him early, and then he kind of just gets lost in the shuffle at the end, and he doesn't really appear till the very latter stages if you were able to save him. So I know this might hurt some people. He is a really likeable guy. We love Matt on this channel, but unfortunately out of the 18s for us, he is the most forgettable.
Next up, we're moving over to Hidden Agenda, which obviously we've still yet to cover on this channel, but we will do one day. The forgettable playable character that I'm going to be talking about is Felicity Graves, so the lawyer. Now, those that have played the game will know that there are only 2 playable characters. It's her and Becky. And I think Felicity is the more forgettable because if you think about the plot of Hidden Agenda, it's very police focused, isn't it? Like whether it's people that are getting attacked, obviously you are the police, you are investigating who the trapper is and, following the story through Becky quite a lot. So therefore, I think Becky's perhaps more memorable than Felicity. And also as well, Felicity has 4 deaths, which, having seen the game twice, I can't remember what those deaths are, which immediately says that actually she's, of the 2, she's the more forgettable.
So third on the list, we have Man of Medan. Now, this probably was the toughest one to choose. Jack and I did have some differing opinions at the start. I don't know, I just feel like maybe characters is the element that they sort of dropped the ball on the most. If I think Man of Medan, I think the location and I think the epic branching it had. Not so much the characters. We were never going to pick Conrad and Brad. We thought those 2 characters were quite memorable in their own right. So it was a toss-up between Flish, Julia and Alex. Jack did remind me that Flish does have my favourite scene with the ballroom. So although I find her a little on the bland side, I did dismiss her from going in the list. So it was honestly between Julia and Alex, but we did eventually decide on Alex. I look at Julia and for me she has that really memorable death with the compression. With Alex, I just see Supermassive Games write this character time and time again of the insecure boyfriend who gets really salty when things don't go his way. So honestly, I just had to go with the jealous, insecure dude again. So yeah, sorry, but it's going to be Alex for this one.
Now moving on to Little Hope. The character that we picked is Angela. So no, guys, of course, look, this is the Butterfly Effect podcast. You know what character we're picking here. We're picking Daniel. Noting as well that I'm the one voicing this and not Liam, but obviously we've picked Daniel. Reason being, look, he is just the most bland. We know that he has his fans. Really, how you define Daniel is perhaps through his relationship with Taylor, who's just very annoying. So he's got definitely poor girlfriend choice right off the bat. Really annoying as well because the fact that actually his counterparts were far more interesting than the character that you got in the present day, and he just doesn't stand out when you compare him to Angela, when you compare him to John. Obviously you've got Andrew / Anthony. he's Will Poulter. He's going to be more memorable. And then Taylor's sort of like the bitchy girl. So like this guy, he just sort of is like a beige sort of guy, is how I'll describe him. So yeah, therefore the most forgettable in Little Hope.
We're now on to House of Ashes, and I'm going to pick Nick. Tom Weston, I promise you, mate, I've got nothing against you. You're fine, you're the character model, you do a good job. It's just they need to write you better characters, mate. I'm really sorry. I look at the 5 playable characters in House of Ashes, and I'm not picking Salim or Jason. They're integral to the story, they're the highlight of the game. The fact they start off as enemies, then they're integral to the enemy is my friend story. But unfortunately for me, Nick's just merely like the addition on the worst end of a love triangle. I think Eric and Rachel have like quite a believable arc. They have like good acting and they go back and forth from one another a lot. The only thing Nick really has is the bomb scene, but honestly, I feel like maybe they should have given it to someone else. This is the only real scene where I really remember him where he does anything of note for me. So yeah, I'm sorry, but we have to pick Nick for the most forgettable character for House of Ashes.
Next up for the Quarry, I'm also picking Nick. So yeah, not very good for Nicks in this list. But let's face it, guys, that if it wasn't for Ryan staying in till the end of the game, he would probably be the one that we would pick on this. But with Nick, after the wolf bite, the guy just goes absent from the game. And it's not like that he had a very loud personality in the first place. His best scenes were probably just as he's turning into a werewolf, because he's got a little bit more about him, like when he's being really aggressive to Abi. And then you don't even get a payoff with him at the end. If you manage to save him by killing the right werewolves and such, then he just comes back as like a little play card to say that he was alive. You don't get that payoff. And he does have a little romance thing with Abi, but again, one of the common criticisms with the Quarry is a lot of the character arcs just aren't resolved, and you don't really get this romance relationship come to sort of fruition towards the end. Plus, like similar to what I said with Little Hope, he's just surrounded by other more colourful characters like your Jacobs, your Emmas and your Caitlins, but this guy just naturally falls down the pecking order. So it really was all working against Nick right off the bat from the Quarry, and therefore that's why he's the most forgettable in our list.
For the devil in me, we are going to go for Morello. I'm sorry, Tom Weston. Nah, I'm joking. We have to go with playable characters. So out of the 5 we get in the film crew, we are picking Mr. Mark Nestor, Mr. Plot Armor as I like to call him. It's quite a shame really, because for me, he is the dullest character out of the 5. I just feel when you're stood next to a Charlie Lonnet, it's not going to do you any favours when you have Paul Kaye doing incredible voice work, and there's a lot of comedy relief, but compelling character work from that character himself. Mark's just kind of like, he's scared of heights, he has this romance angle with Kate, but for me, Kate has the more compelling story, and you have the class actor backing them. And then as for the other 2, Erin and Jamie, they've got some really memorable scenes, and I don't know, I just feel like they are some of like the more favoured characters in The Devil in Me. So I actually think in a way Mark's just, fairly wooden, and I feel like the romance angle dampens him. I don't hate the character per se, it's just it was quite gutting for me when I found out he was the one with the plot armor, even though he was for me the most forgettable character. So yeah, just another story of someone not being bad per se, but being amongst 4 better cast members, I'm afraid.
And finally, going over to the casting of Frank Stone, we're revisiting a theme that we had earlier on. And that's with Harmay, sort of like the jealous, insecure boyfriend. Again, on the personality front, he's just a little on the bland side. Do I think it's as bad as, say, like a Daniel or an Alex from Medan? Certainly not. Check out our tier list for casting Frank Stone. We said that across the board they're pretty decent. But Harmay just does fall short. He's surrounded by Chris, who's the very energetic, charismatic director. You've got Linda, who is obviously across 2 timelines, so you can get a little bit of a flavour for what she's about. The same with Sam as well. You see him across multiple timelines. So immediately it's hurting Harmay. And then of course you have that big chapter 5 choice, which I think a lot of people probably did get him killed off on. I know I certainly did. Because if you go to confront, Frank Stone, he'll just chop you in half if you've not got the firecrackers. and then that's it, and that's out the game. And even if you do keep him alive beyond that, you don't get much more out of him. He just sort of runs around with you a little bit. He gets caught by Frank Stone, and you have to go rescue him towards the end. He doesn't like offer, you know, a mass amount to, you know, proceedings and stuff. So, you know, unfortunately, there is another guy on this list, and it finishes with Harme. Yeah, guys, there we go. They were our most forgettable characters or playable characters from all of the Supermassive games. I think a final little note from me, what I think is quite interesting looking at our list, is apart from one, they're all male characters. And I think that the dumb thing is that the line, so I should say, is that female characters are the ones that have the worst writing in horror games or in games in general. But I think this list perhaps goes against that, lad. I don't know if you noticed it.
I never noticed it at the start as well. And the thing is, obviously, the female you're alluding to is Hidden Agenda, Felicity. And there's no playable males in that game. So, like, yeah, like, it actually gets to say that, yeah, maybe Supermassive games have a bit of a issue or a power that, like, they can write females really well. But yeah, like, we haven't picked them deliberately, but I've just noticed that myself. Yeah, a lot of the most forgettable characters, unfortunately, are male.
So yeah, guys, there we go. Obviously, let us know in the comments what your forgettable characters are across these games, and we'll read them and we'll reply to them as well. And do keep an eye out for more Supermassive content. It's a big year. We've got Directive coming out, and we do have other Supermassive videos in the pipeline as well. So definitely subscribe, and we will see you in the future.
See you then, guys.